You ever feel like someone is there, but not really there? Like they're in the room, but their presence is hollow. One of the first things a man will always do if he's cheating, without fail, is start pulling away emotionally. It doesn't always happen overnight. Sometimes it's subtle, almost like background noise. But if you really pay attention, you'll notice it. He becomes harder to reach, not physically, necessarily, but emotionally. Conversations that once felt natural and warm start to feel dry, scripted, or even avoided altogether. You ask how his day was, and instead of the usual back and forth, he gives you the bare minimum, fine. No detail, no spark, no curiosity about your day either. It's like he's just trying to get through the interaction without fully engaging. That's not always a sign of cheating, I'll be clear. People go through phases: stress, work pressure, health issues. It all plays a role. But when emotional distance comes with a layer of secrecy, that's when the alarms should go off. Suddenly, his phone is always face down. He used to leave it on the counter, screen up, didn't care if it buzzed in front of you. Now, it's locked, silenced, and he takes it with him to the bathroom like it's glued to his hand. He's laughing at text messages you can't see, stepping outside to take calls with vague excuses, or becoming defensive the moment you even glance in the direction of his screen. When someone's not being honest, they often start hiding in plain sight. The more they try to shield something, the more distance grows between you and them, not just physically, but emotionally. And here's the thing. People think cheating is about sex, but often the real betrayal starts way before that. It starts in the emotional separation, in the little lies, in the decisions that slowly build a wall between two people who used to be open, real, and connected. When a man starts cheating, he knows he's playing a dangerous game, and even if he doesn't outright confess, his behavior will start to shift in ways he can't fully control. One of those ways is this guardedness, this sudden need for privacy that never used to exist. Have you ever asked someone what's wrong and had them say, nothing, but deep down you knew that wasn't true? That's what it feels like to be on the receiving end of emotional detachment. You can feel the space growing, like he's here, but already gone. And that confusion, that gnawing doubt, that's one of the most painful parts of it. Because you're not just questioning him, you start questioning yourself. Am I overthinking this? Am I being paranoid? Am I imagining it? That self-doubt is often what keeps people in the dark longer than they should be. A man who's cheating will also stop confiding in you. You'll notice that the emotional intimacy, the late night talks, the little moments that made you feel close, start to dry up. It's not just about hiding the cheating, it's about investing that emotional energy somewhere else. Because make no mistake, cheating isn't just a physical act, it's an emotional redirection. If he's giving someone else his attention, his secrets, his compliments, or even just his presence, he has to pull those things away from you. That's the trade-off. You don't get less of him because he's busy. You get less of him because someone else is getting more. And look, I'm not saying that every distant man is a cheater. Sometimes people just don't know how to open up, or they've grown apart for reasons that have nothing to do with someone else. But when that emotional distance is paired with defensiveness, with secrecy, with patterns of withdrawal that feel calculated, that's when it's not just distance. That's when it's deception. What you deserve is transparency. What you deserve is presence. If someone is emotionally checking out of the relationship and you feel like you're fighting alone just to maintain a connection that used to come effortlessly, it's not just your imagination. It's a signal, one that says something's not right. And more often than not, if a man is cheating, that emotional disappearance is where it begins. Because a man who's cheating can fake a smile. He can give you flowers. He can even say, I love you. But what he can't fake, at least not for long, is true emotional presence. You ever notice how sometimes people don't need to say a word for you to know something's changed? That's the power of behavior. It speaks louder than any excuse or explanation ever could. One of the things a man will always do if he's cheating is change. His behavior, his routine, the rhythm of your relationship, it all starts to shift. And what's wild is that these changes often feel subtle at first. But when you take a step back and really look at them as a pattern, the signs are undeniable. Suddenly he's working late. A lot, he's got new projects, meetings, last-minute deadlines. And sure, we all get busy sometimes. But when that business becomes a shield, when you notice that his availability is disappearing and those absences come with no real explanation or detail, you start to question it, and you should. Because when someone's acting out of character, there's usually a reason. You start to feel like you're on the outside of his life, instead of part of it. Where you once knew his schedule like the back of your hand, now everything feels unpredictable. He tells you one thing, but it doesn't add up with what actually happens. He says he went to dinner with a friend, but can't remember which restaurant. He says he was at work, but comes home freshly showered, with that look that says he's been somewhere he doesn't want you asking about. And when you do ask, he gets irritated, like you're the one causing the problem by being curious. Now here's something that might catch you off guard. Cheating doesn't always come with neglect. Sometimes a cheating man becomes more attentive in strange, uncharacteristic ways. He might start giving you unexpected compliments, buying you gifts, going out of his way to make it up to you. That might sound sweet on the surface, but pay attention to the why behind it. If that sudden surge of affection feels disconnected from any real emotional closeness, if it feels like compensation rather than genuine connection, it probably is. These are what I call distraction moves. They're designed to confuse you, to make you second-guess that gut feeling that something's off. He's hoping that if he sprinkles in just enough good behavior, you'll ignore the red flags. But don't get distracted by the noise. Look at the pattern, because consistency is what reveals someone's true character, not isolated gestures. Another shift that happens is in his appearance. He suddenly starts dressing differently. Maybe he's got a new cologne. Maybe he's hitting the gym when he never cared before. Now, don't get me wrong, self-improvement is great. We want our partners to evolve. But when that evolution happens fast, without any real explanation, and especially if it feels like it's being done more for the world outside the relationship than inside it, you have to ask what or who he's trying to impress. You start to feel like he's living a double life. One version of him that shows up when it's convenient, and another version that's happening just out of reach. That confusion is exhausting. It makes you question what's real. And when someone's cheating, they rely on that confusion to keep you off balance. Because if you're doubting yourself, you're not doubting them. If you're busy trying to fix something you don't understand, they're free to keep doing what they're doing unchecked. Let's be honest, people in relationships fall into patterns. There's comfort in that, and also vulnerability. Because when you get used to someone, it's easy to overlook shifts. But if you ever feel like you're watching someone become a stranger in slow motion, don't ignore it. Especially if those shifts come with distance, secrecy, or defensiveness. The biggest trap is thinking it's probably nothing, just because he hasn't admitted anything. But actions don't lie. When someone changes their routine, their habits, their demeanor, and none of it includes you, that's not just a phase, that's a sign. And here's the truth, no one likes to admit people don't hide what they're proud of. So if his life is starting to happen behind closed doors, if you're constantly feeling like an outsider in your own relationship, then something's broken. And it's not your job to keep pretending it's whole. Because at the end of the day, routine doesn't just change itself. You ever notice how when's hiding something, they suddenly act like you're the one doing something wrong? That shift, where curiosity is met with defensiveness and concern is met with accusations, is one of the clearest indicators that something deeper is going on. When a man is cheating, one of the things he'll almost always do is start turning the spotlight back on you. He becomes defensive, even when no one's attacking. He gets irritated at harmless questions. And more than that, he'll start making you feel guilty for even noticing something's off. Let's say you ask a basic question, like, "Who are you out with tonight?" A question that, in a healthy relationship, should roll off like nothing. Suddenly, he snaps back, "Why are you interrogating me?" Or "You never trust me." And just like that, the focus has shifted. You were asking a fair question, maybe even a gentle one, and now you're the one backpedaling, trying to explain yourself, trying to keep the peace. That's not curiosity being met with respect. That's truth being deflected with guilt. It's classic misdirection. People who have something to hide often use defensiveness as a shield, because deep down they know their actions don't line up. They know they're walking a tightrope, and they know it would only take one honest conversation to knock everything down. So instead of staying calm and open, they lash out, they raise their voice, they accuse you of being too sensitive, too jealous, too needy, anything that distracts from the fact that they're not showing up with honesty. And what's even trickier is how subtle this can be. Not every cheater gets loud. Some just go cold. They'll dismiss you with phrases like, "You're imagining things," or "Don't be ridiculous," as if your intuition is just paranoia. But here's the truth. Your instincts are there for a reason. When something feels off, it's usually because it is off. People don't just suddenly get defensive for no reason. That shift in energy, that unwillingness to engage with simple, honest questions, that's not about you being unreasonable. That's about them protecting a version of themselves they don't want you to see. And let's talk about blame for a second, because this is where it gets even more manipulative. A man who's cheating will often turn the blame around so smoothly that you don't even realize it's happening. You express a boundary, he says you're controlling. You say you're feeling disconnected, he says you're too emotional. You raise a concern, and somehow you walk away from the conversation apologizing. That's not accountability, that's emotional gaslighting. And it works, because when you care about someone, your first instinct is to believe them. You want to give them benefit of the doubt. So when they turn the tables and make it seem like the problem is your trust, not their transparency, you start doubting yourself. You start shrinking. You stop asking the questions you should be asking just to avoid another fight, another cold shoulder, another moment of being made to feel like you're the problem. But real connection can't survive in that space, because love without honesty is just performance. And if someone gets angry every time you want to understand them better, if they can't handle transparency without turning into a battle, that's not love, that's avoidance. And more often than not, that kind of avoidance is covering something they don't want you to find. Here's the thing, trust isn't just built on promises. It's built on patterns. If the pattern becomes one where your voice isn't welcomed, where your feelings are invalidated, where your need for clarity is met with contempt, then trust is already broken, whether he's admitted anything or not. Sometimes, when a man is cheating, he's not just trying to hide what he's doing. He's trying to protect the illusion of the relationship. He wants you to believe everything is fine so he doesn't have to deal with the consequences. So he uses defensiveness and blame to keep the illusion going. But that illusion doesn't serve you. It keeps you stuck in a loop where your needs don't matter and your voice doesn't count. So if every time you try to talk, you're made to feel crazy, if every concern is flipped back on you, and every honest question turns into a full-blown argument, then the issue isn't your tone, or your timing, or your trust. The issue is that someone's hiding something they're not ready to face. And when someone's cheating, they'll duke it work. They'll everything they can to keep you from looking too closely, especially if what would find would change everything. One of the most telling signs a man is cheating isn't always found in the big, dramatic moments. It's in the slow erosion of effort, the quiet way he stops showing up, stops caring, stops trying. When a man is cheating, one thing he will almost always do is pull back his energy from the relationship. He stops putting in the work. The thoughtful gestures that used to feel second nature now feel like they've completely vanished. It's not just that he's distracted, it's that his investment in you is drying up. And that's one of the hardest things to sit with. Because when you love someone, when you've built something with them, you notice everything. You notice that he doesn't ask how your day was anymore. You notice that he's stopped planning things for the two of you, that he barely compliments you, barely listens, barely looks up from his phone when you're talking. And at first you make excuses. Maybe he's just tired. Maybe work's been rough. Maybe this is just a phase. But then it keeps happening. And the more you try to get back what you had, the more one-sided it all begins to feel. See, the truth is, relationships require effort. Not effort that feels like a chore, but effort that says you matter, that you're worth showing up for, even on the hard days. But when a man is cheated, that effort gets redirected. He's using his emotional, mental, and sometimes physical energy somewhere else. And what's left for you? The scraps, the minimum, enough to say he's still around, but not enough to make you feel chosen. You might start to notice that the intimacy changes too. And I don't just mean sex, though that can definitely shift. Sometimes it disappears altogether, and you feel that rejection in your bones. Other times, oddly enough, the physical connection is still there, but it feels empty, mechanical, like he's going through the motions just enough to keep things from falling apart. But there's no depth, no closeness, no emotional presence in the moment. And that's what really stings. Not the absence of touch, but the absence of intention behind it. Even small things start to change. Things like how he talks to you, how much he notices you. You could get a haircut, wear something new, or have a big day coming up, and it's like he's blind to all of it. The man who used to light up when you walked into the room now barely lifts his head. It's not that he doesn't see you, it's that he's no longer looking for you. That attention, that enthusiasm, that emotional curiosity, it's gone, or worse, it's being given to someone else. Now here's what makes this especially difficult. When effort disappears, a lot of people internalize it. They start thinking, maybe I'm not attractive enough anymore. Maybe I'm not exciting. Maybe I did something wrong. And that's where the damage compounds. Because not only are you being neglected, you're also blaming yourself for someone else's decision to disconnect. But hear me on this, it is not your fault when someone stops trying. Their behavior is a reflection of their integrity, not your worth. If someone is cheating, it's not because you failed to be enough. It's because they failed to honor the relationship. And rather than deal with their dissatisfaction honestly, they took the coward's way out. They look for fulfillment behind your back. You deserve someone who shows up, Not just at the beginning, when it's all new and exciting, but consistently. You deserve someone who stays curious about you, who makes you feel seen, who's still willing to put in the work even when life gets busy or complicated. Love without effort isn't love, it's complacency. And when that effort starts fading, especially in the absence of honesty, you have to ask yourself what is really going on here. Because if someone has one foot out the door, if their attention is wandering, if they've already invested themselves someone else emotionally or physically, the first place it's going to show is in how they treat you. You'll feel the silence where there used to be laughter. You'll feel the disinterest where there used to be effort. And you'll realize you didn't lose them all at once. You lost them inch by inch every time they chose not to try. And when someone stops trying, that is an answer.